Here we go. Good afternoon. This is Rashad Mitchell. Come to you live from my YouTube channel. I'm starting a new stream of income, new stream of content, This one's called The Week That Was. College Football Week in Review. College Football History in Review, rather. This is called The Week That Was, College Football's History in Review. I'm going to start with 1953, the year of the fainting Irish King Terps in the new basketball conference and limited substitution. A painfully controversial 14-14 tie with Iowa on November 21st cost Notre Dame its fifth to date national championship and negatively placed the image-conscious Roman Catholic school on every editorial page in America. The Fighting Irish had held a spot atop the Associated Press ballot every week from the preseason until the deadlock with Iowa, gaining lots of yards but making several errors against the determined Hawkeyes. Notre Dame found itself out of timeouts in the closing seconds of both halves. The Irish managed to score a vital touchdown each time after faking injuries to stop the clock. Fainting Frank Vacchione, a tackle, earned an unenviable nickname that afternoon. The ploy was perfectly legal at the time. Notre Dame was hardly the only team to use it, but the whole affair left a black eye on the countenance of the proud Fighting Irish. The uproar in the press over the incident was seismic. In those days, voter participation in the Associated Press college football poll was somewhat arbitrary and voluntary, so long as a voter carried sports writing credentials. The next ballot after the tainted tie was scheduled for November 23rd. It attracted 251 sports writers posters from around the nation, and only 150 ballots had been tabulated the previous week. All those indignant new voters pushed Iowa from number 20 to number 9. Emotional support for Iowa was so dramatic that even with their mediocre record, the Hawkeyes picked up 10 of the 378 first-place votes in the final AP poll on November 30th and finished ninth, ahead of such superior record teams as number 10 West Virginia, number 11 Texas Tech, and even number 15 Wisconsin, which had defeated Iowa only a month earlier. Fainting had taken a more serious tone in South Bend earlier in the season. In his 11th and final year at Notre Dame, intense 45-year-old coach Frank Leahy collapsed of a severe pancreatic attack during a big victory over previously unbeaten Georgia Tech. Leahy sat out some of the Irish's closing games and ultimately retired with the second-best winning percentage ever. His 13-year record was 107-13-9 at Notre Dame and Boston College. Knute Rockne's 81 percentage at Notre Dame was the only major college or pro coaching mark ever to eclipse that of Leahy's. In 1953, a new major conference bloomed. 7 of the largest schools of the 17-member Southern Conference broke away to form the Atlantic Coast Conference. Charter members like Clemson, Duke, Maryland, North Carolina State, South Carolina, Wake Forest, Virginia. 15 years and independent were joined in 1954. Perhaps the best ever team at Maryland used the fresh setting of the new ACC and an undefeated run through 10 regular season foes to make a late surge to the top of the polls. Maryland, the only unbeaten and untied team in the regular season, outscored its foes 298-31, and only Missouri in the season opener kept within 2 touchdowns of the King Terrapins. Maryland defeated Southeastern Conference champion Alabama by 21-0, and SEC runner-up Mississippi by 38-0, among a good slate of teams that posted a 6.061 winning percentage. No one can know all at the time the fledgling ACC would become known primarily as a powerful basketball conference, so posters harbored no preconceptions in voting the league its first national football title. Maryland would be the ACC's last national football title until Clemson's surprise run in 1981. Duke and North Carolina led the way as top basketball programs. ACC teams won 2 titles and made 17 Final Four appearances between 1953 to 1981. It became fashionable, rightly or wrongly, to perceive the ACC as less than a great football conference. It took the 1990s arrival of powerful Florida State, a relatively nobody in 1953, by the way, to enhance the idea that the ACC was sufficiently competitive on the gridiron to be capable of turning out national football champions. Amidst the glory of taking the national crown, Maryland promptly lost 7-0 in the Orange Bowl to Coach Bud Wilkinson's Oklahoma team. As was the custom then, Neither AP writers or UP coaches polled after New Year's Day. So the Terrapins' national title stayed on the books. However, questionable its legitimacy that might appear under history's scrutiny. Oklahoma ranked number 4 before the Orange Bowl, but perhaps the best team in the nation by season end had started poorly. The Sooners opened with a warlike loss to Notre Dame and a tie with Pittsburgh, which would be the last blemish on Oklahoma's record until 1957. Orange Bowl game pitted two coaches who shared a strong connection from the previous decade. Jim Tatum, head man at Maryland, who was hired to lead Oklahoma in the post-World War II era. He brought with him to Norman a bright young assistant named Bud Wilkinson. During the interview process, Wilkinson had made a great impression. So the powers that be were only too happy to tap Wilkinson as Oklahoma's new coach when Tatum ran to Maryland after only 1 year with the Sooners. The craziest play in bowl history, perhaps in all of football history, occurred in the Cotton Bowl, where brilliant Rice halfback Dickie Mogul circled his right end from the Owls' 5-yard line in the second quarter. Mogul burst into the clear only to be stunned by an off-the-bench tackle by Alabama's captain Tommy Lewis. Mogul was awarded a touchdown. Lewis was profusely apologetic afterward. Such sideline misbehavior by players or coaches had and has happened occasionally, but never in so conspicuous a situation as a New Year's Day bowl game. Maybe America's odd notion of celebrity was proved in the aftermath. A self-conscious and embarrassed Lewis, not Mogul, received all the attention in a mutual appearance on the next Sunday's Ed Sullivan Show, CBS top variety program on television. Army completed a swift return to prominence, which was launched on a 14-13 squeaker over the then number 7 Duke and anchored on a season-ending 27 swamping of Navy. It happened that Army faced a schedule of teams that only achieved a 440 winning percentage. Coach Red Blake's squad had been all but wiped out when 37 players were among 90 cadets dismissed in August 1951 from the Academy for academic violations of West Point's honor code, that is, sharing exam information and failed to report knowledge of the exam cheating. Many of the band's cadets propped themselves up to become respected students and fine players at civilian schools, but the absence in 1951 and 1952 greatly harmed Army's football results. Every college team faced the difficult adjustment to a new limited substitution rule in 1953 that eliminated the use of separate offensive and defensive squads as we know them today. The new order of college football meant all players had to condition themselves for long unrelieved spells on both offense and defense. Bobby Garrett, Stanford quarterback and safety who received All-America mention, remarkably led the nation in both completion as a passer and interceptions as a defender. Coach Biggie Monk of Rose Bowl champion Michigan State howled loudest, claiming to impose defensive duty, but chased from the sport such light, quick attackers like Don Coleman, his 180-pound All-America tackle of 1951. Monk was correct about small linemen fading from football, but the proliferation of 250 to 300 pounders came a better dice in future years, and weightlifting, a training method that first gained universal acceptance in the 1960s. Auburn coach Chuck Jordan had his own twist on the substitution rule, using two units that each played both offense and defense. The Tigers were one of the year's surprises, reversing a 7-23 record of 1950 to 1952. Among the relative Tiger backs were quarterback Vince Dooley, Georgia's future great coach, halfback Fob James, future governor of Alabama. Auburn qualified for its first of 3 consecutive Gator Bowls. Option running plays out of the split T made up the primary offensive attack of 1953. The ancient single-wing offense lived on, despite some alumni protests. Pacific Coast champion UCLA was highly successful with it, but other long-time purveyors of the compact power formation like Tennessee, without recently retired coaching great Robert Neyland, and Princeton slipped after several lofty seasons. A forerunner to the wishbone offense of the 1970s, the split T and its hard-to-read, quick-hitting inside handoffs and wide option pitch-outs was the perfect, easy-to-learn offense for players scrambling to master play on both offense and defense. But many coaches focus on defense first, and split T could accommodate a back who was sharp on defense and could serve as an adequate runner or blocker. Rifle-armed, those who also could tackle and play pass defense were in short supply. Zeke Bukowski of Georgia might have been the best pure passer of the season, but had several rough moments as a pass defender. The 1953 consensus All-American team was revealing. It listed no pass-oriented players in the backfield. The All-American backs included run oriented halfbacks like Johnny Latner of Notre Dame and J.C. Caroline of Illinois. The others were Paul Gill of Minnesota and Paul Cameron of UCLA. Single wing tailbacks who could pass but thought run first. The single platoon approach was chipped away year by year by a variety of substitution liberalization rules, but it lasted in effect for 11 seasons until 1963. Was it a success? If the objective was creating a balance so that dozens of teams could compete with traditional top schools like Notre Dame, Ohio State, and South Carolina, it worked well. During that 11-year stretch, these were teams that won national titles that frequently played at a medium level otherwise. Teams like Maryland, UCLA, Auburn, and Syracuse won their first and only national titles between 1953 and 1963. Competitive during the single platoon era with Baylor, Duke, Kentucky, Mississippi, Missouri, Rice, SMU, and TCU. Each of those teams has had more downs than ups ever since. Why did this parity occur? With only 11 regular players instead of 22, school could develop a star or two and make its team competitive. A winning record, regardless of size of the school, influenced more top recruits to attend that school. For example, Duke, a school with high academic requirements and small enrollment, started with stars like Ed Meadows and Jerry Barger, who led to Sonny Jurgensen and Ray Carlton, who led to Mike McGee, and T. Mormon, who led to Jay Wilkinson and Mike Curtis. From 1953 to 1963, Duke enjoyed a 70, 36, and 7 mark. Duke may be an isolated case, but its football record hasn't been close since. On the other hand, college football, not far removed from the top of the sports world status shared with baseball, was challenged fiercely in the late 50s and early 60s for fan interest by the once ragamuffin National Football League. College football's single platoon clearly fatigued starting players. Tired players meant a much slower game, and colleges were forced to react to speed up their game with free substitution by the mid-1960s. Coach Blake of Army complained bitterly about the Ironman approach, claiming the new rule exhausted players and that it was especially tough on West Point cadets who had the additional daily physical rigors of military academy life, as well as a demanding academic curriculum. Without kicking specialists to call upon, Clemson coach Frank Howard griped that he had never seen so many 15 and 20-yard punts. Why not be able to send a boy who can kick the ball 50 yards? Perhaps the changes of 1953 simply were baffling to everybody. No less an accomplished coach than Bear Bryant was busy one Saturday with player substitution bookkeeping and lost track of an extra point missed by Louisiana State. Bryant believed for nearly 2 hours after that his Kentucky team, which he chewed out for a poor performance, had lost 7-6 to the Tigers, when in reality the game had ended in a 6-6 tie. But for better or worse, limited substitution created a different and interesting game. In those days, it was far easier for fans to follow the ups and downs of a whole nation of college teams, because watching the exploits of only 11 regular players made it a simple pleasure to track all of college football. It certainly wasn't the golden age of the sport, but it clearly was fascinating. Now, the milestones that took place in 1953 was NCAA created a rule to limit player substitution. Once players left the field, they could return to play only in the following quarter. Virtually all players were forced to compete on both offense and defense. Far-flung 17-member Southern Conference split, with 7 schools forming New Atlantic Coast Conference: Clemson, Duke, Maryland, North Carolina State, South Carolina, and Wake Forest. By joining Western Conference to complete its 10-school group, Michigan State competed for its first Big Ten title. Despite its name, Big Ten Conference had embraced only 9 members since the University of Chicago abandoned football after the 1939 season. People that passed away, unfortunately, was Jim Thorpe, age 65, of a heart attack. He was a greatest athlete, voted in 1950 as the greatest athlete by the Associated Press, football player of the first half of the 20th century. Jim Thorpe, he passed. Jim Craig Vav, Walter Kopish, and John Pappas. The longest winning streaks entering the 1953 season was Michigan State had a 24-game winning streak, Georgia Tech had a 17-game winning streak, and Texas had a 7-game winning streak. The coaches that came in as incoming coaches were Arkansas Bowden Wyatt, North Carolina George Barclay, Southern Methodist Woody Woodard, Tennessee Harvey Robinson, Texas Christian A. Martin, Vanderbilt Art Upe, Virginia Ned McDonald, Washington John Sherberg. Now the preseason number 1 was Notre Dame going to the 1953 season, followed by Michigan State, Georgia Tech, UCLA, and Alabama. That was the top 5. The rest of the top 10 had Oklahoma, Ohio State, Southern California, Maryland, and Duke. The rest of the top 20 was Texas, Rice, Navy, California, Florida, West Virginia, Tennessee, and Pittsburgh tied for the number 17 spot. And Princeton was number 19, and Baylor was number 20. So I'm going to go over the week that was, September 19th, 1953. Now, this game was played on a Friday, so it had to be September 18th, 1953, where the season started, where Mississippi Southern beat Alabama 25-19. Strong arm Mississippi Southern halfback Hugh Pepper did more running, 115 yards, including a dazzling 66-yard touchdown, catching a 45-yard touchdown, than he did pitching in huge upset of number 5 Crimson Tide of Alabama. Pepper would go on to hurl one National League win for Pittsburgh Pirates in summer of 1954, but would finish with a 2-8 career pitching mark. Alabama, meanwhile, was able to build a 1912 lead by halftime on touchdowns by fullback Tommy Lewis, halfback Bill Oliver, and end Curtis Lynch. Alabama regulars wilted in fourth quarter, necessitating reverses taking over. Eagles proceeded to score 2 touchdowns against Alabama subs. Mississippi Southern, it was learned next day, had made membership application to new ACC, but never accomplished that goal. So I'm going to put an end to this. I just gotta be the longest video I ever done. I don't think I'm wrong about that, but this is just the week that was. A little snippet was to come from September 19th, 1953, but this game on Friday had to be September 18th, 1953. Mississippi Southern beat Alabama by a score of 25-19. So that concludes part 1 of the week that was, college football history and review, the 1953 season, week 1. Come back and I will do more of that tomorrow. So subscribe to the channel, like, comment. This is Rashad Mitchell from my YouTube channel. Till then, talk to you tomorrow.